Welcome to my YouTube channel where I discuss cricket matches. This video will focus exclusively on a short episode that unfolded at the Sydney Cricket Stadium on the fourth day of the test match between India and Australia. During this short moment, Mohammad Siraj, India's fast bowler, who had just completed an over before, he was fielding at deep fine leg, and he came up to the square leg umpire and he complained about racial abuse being hurled at him from some spectators sitting behind him. A similar incident had unfolded the day before, but this time around we saw the moment transpire in front of us where the match was delayed for about 5 to 7 minutes as umpires started to talk to each other, and as they started to gather the police came and they kicked out a few, about 4 to 5 young crowd members from the crowd out of the cricket ground. A lot has been said, but very little has been said as well. A lot meaning this incident has been noticed, and the spectators have been resoundingly condemned. But at the same time, very little has been said, because the question of what does it mean to eradicate, eliminate, and show, as Ravi Ashwin said, an iron fist to racism, what exactly does that imply, or what is the method by which these visions will materialize remains undiscussed. And it is exactly the question of how we're going to use technology to eradicate racism, which I think is a frightening question to us, but it must be asked because it's the important details that gets missing. For instance, in the commentator box, the commentator said that these spectators should be given a life ban from ever attending a cricket match again. They also noticed that it's very easy to be identified who the specific spectator was, to in other words, hunt down the culprit. And they argued that the reason why it's so easy to hunt them down is because on their tickets, the spectators at the Sydney Cricket Ground were assigned a particular seat. They couldn't move from that seat and sit somewhere else. The only time they could move is if they had to go to the restroom. First of all, that's a shitty arrangement. I would never attend a cricket game or any sporting event if I have to wear a face mask for 8 hours straight, not move at all other than if I have to go pee or poop, and be seated in one place at all the times. Sounds like I'm going to a prison rather than a cricket game. And I have to pay for that kind of experience. All on top of that, I'm sorry, I would not even pay for it. I would not attend this if it was for free. And if I got a free airplane ticket on top of it, I wouldn't go attend a cricket match if I was begged by the government to go watch a game like that. And this is one of the main arguments I want to make. I think in today's era, nobody should attend a public event, specifically entertainment such as cricket, concerts, any kind of entertainment where a public gathers and gets entertained by people who are much richer and whose complaints and grievances are far more credible and will be resoundingly taken into consideration over and against yours. It's a scary thing to be a spectator in a cricket match or in any sporting event. And the reason for that is because in addition to your tickets and your seating arrangements, there are all kinds of technologies that a government or a cricketing authority or the police and the security staff at a ground can easily use to hunt you down. And the punishments they can give to you, we think would be the harshest punishments we think would be giving a life ban from a cricket match. There could be all kinds of other punishments as well, which we would never hear about later on. For instance, I think it is very plausible to imagine a future where if you are convicted of hurling racial abuse through the words you use and through your rhetoric, that you would, in other words, you would be your access to your iPhone, your MacBook Airs, your Apple ID could all be taken away from you. You would have no more access. Maybe your Google Documents be taken away from you as well. I don't think any of these web storages, these technologies are autonomous and just because you have your name on it, that it happens to be yours. I think the government and can easily take away from you, because Google and Amazon and all these tech companies work in collaboration with the military. They go and engage in a 3-month long, like Google employees spend 3-4 months working with the military. The military also, we oftentimes think of the military officer as a big hunky guy or gal who goes and fights in a war. But today's military is one that is constituted around computer programmers. So computer programmers, in other words, own us. They have complete control over us. And this question of eradicating racism is the way in which they want to advertise how they can regulate us and hunt us down and make us against each other, right? So if you find somebody who says something mean to you or something that is upsets you and makes you feel hurt about what happened, the what you need to do, according to these tech moguls, is exactly what Mohammed Siraj did: complain about it, tell them who you think that person is, and then let their technologies, their facial recognition devices, for instance, hunt that person down, and then let them punish them the way they see, basically banish them from the digital world and the digital gadgets that they have purchased, banish them from their own user on the web, right? These are not the only ways in which problems are resolved. This is not the way in which families resolve conflicts. These are not the ways in which mothers resolve conflicts. These are not the only ways in which conflicts should be resolved in an age of digital technologies. There are far more relational forms of um, conflict resolution, which take into account the importance of people maintaining relationships with one another and allowing a conflict to become an opportunity to understand one another, to dialogue, to talk to each other, to air out each other's grievances. A lot of children hurt other children's feelings. That doesn't mean that the child should then just go to the principal's office and say, this kid hurt my feelings, and then have the principal expel that child from the school. Instead, there are other forms of what you would call counseling that can be far less punitive of a measure. This is beyond the question of exactly even looking at what the racial abuse was or what the racial bias was. I don't even want to entertain that question. I am uh, trusting Muhammad Siraj that the guy said something that was racial and that was hurtful. But the question that raises is, should we have a consensus that we should just destroy that individual's life? I mean, you can kick that person out of a cricket match. What else can you do? You can do a whole lot of other things, because you know their user ID, you have data over them. You can do all kinds of things. You can get them expelled from school. You can alert the principal or the president of the school and the chancellors or the dean of the school, and let him know that this individual hurled racial abuse. Children are being expelled from schools for singing songs with the N-word in it. You can do all kinds of things to punish people. It was a sad sight to see all these, because when the camera started to zoom into the crowd, we could see that all of them are wearing face masks for 8-9 hours. They have face masks all over their face. I mean, it was sad to see. It's not like we're not, it's not as if we haven't punished people enough. But again, I think it's stupid on you if you pay money to go attend a public event, because you assume that your relationship to the athlete is one of an entertainer and the person being entertained. Instead, I would argue that your relationship to the athlete is one of a policeman and just a civilian walking down the street. Those athletes can point finger at you, call the authorities, and get you banished. And it's not just about getting kicked out of a cricket match and not being able to attend a cricket match for the rest of your life. As harsh as that measure sounds, I do not believe that that is the harshest measure out there for these authorities to execute. I think they can go far lower than that. I think they can call your school, they can get you expelled from your school. I think they can take your Apple ID from you as well. They can take all your Google documents away from you. They can take your Twitter away from you, your Facebook away from you, your YouTube account away from you. They can make you virtually, digitally banished from civil society. That's the threat we are confronted with. And they do so in this most insidious manner, where race and racial bias, which by the way comes out of psychology, one of the most racist social scientific fields, a field that has a very close, intimate tie with social work and the emergence of the police, one of the most racist institutions out there. right? It takes this insidious mechanism where they take race to advertise how they're going to control and regulate and identify and hunt you down and banish you by saying, see, we can identify their racial rhetoric. We know their user ID. We're going to kick them away from civil society. Um, it's deeply disturbing to see, yet also kind of like tragic to see that a police officer is emboldened to hunt down racists using software apps and technologies like that. The last summer was fought arguing whether the institution of the police itself is racist. Well, what will happen is the tech moguls and the government around the world in a global society that we live in, they will empower these police officers, make them a profession, pay them even more money than they were being paid before, because before they were a working class occupation, they didn't make tons of money. A police officer is not a millionaire. They're not even upper middle class. They're very middle class people, especially the urban police officers who are oftentimes migrants, second generation, first generation, African American. They're from the community that they live in. They didn't used to make tons of money, but now they will, because they'll become a profession who are taught how to use modern, cutting edge digital technologies that can hunt down people. Because again, remember, your labor, your value now is reduced to being mining for data. You are nothing but data for these digital tech moguls. All right, you are no different than the diamond and the coal and the steel that they used to manufacture during the last industrial revolution. This industrial revolution is one where you are going to be the coal, you're going to be the diamond, and they are going to be the ones who decide which coal to monetize and which coal to throw in the trash. So all you got to do is follow the ways in which they try to exterminate, eradicate racial bias. They're using these verbs that sound eerily similar to the very fascism that they argue that they are vehemently against. Well, watch out where the fascism will come from. The ones in control of the technologies that can regulate and surveil us, they are the ones who are ushering the new age of fascism. The way in which it differs from the people they accuse of fascism is that they claim to have the high, mighty, very virtuous aim of eradicating racism by using the very mechanisms of racism, a police surveillance state. I hope you enjoyed this discussion, my analysis of what unfolded in Sydney, and I hope you take my suggestions seriously, which is that you should not entertain visiting a public site of leisure for the rest of your life, whether that is a sporting arena, a mall, an outlet mall, a theater, etc. Go to the forest, go to the lakes, go to the beach, go far away from people, or at least go to spaces where you can move, because when people move, they become more relaxed. Be in places where people say hi to you, hello to you, they walk their dogs, and they're nice and cordial. Do not go to places where they take their phones out and press the recorder, because we're going to be in an ugly state of affairs for the next few decades. Thank you.